Good morning, World Side America. Hope you guys enjoyed my show I made yesterday. I made 4 videos yesterday, right? Talk about Sky Source, SHL, all that stuff. Yeah. What career path are you going to take? It's most likely movies, guys, because it's less risky. I don't want to take that risk. Yeah. But he's like, yeah, I mean, you don't want to invest like 30 something billion into a big pro hockey league and you flop as a player. But just because I flopped first season doesn't mean I can't get better. I could get better, but like, do you really want to take that risk? You spend $33, you start the league. Obviously, yeah. You spend $33, you start the league, you play in the league, and you're not productive on the ice. Ugh. I only scored like 5 goals in my first season. I have like 25 points. Yes, it's glorious to see me play, but like I'm not productive for that. I'm not scoring any points, right? I'm like, what the fuck? I just wasted all my money on this. Yeah. What if you start the league where you don't play in it? If I start the league and I don't play in it, the league will not do like 140 billion revenue. No. It'll do maybe NFL money, maybe a little bit more, 20, 23, 25. I'll be lucky to pull in 20 billion a season. Yeah. A lot of people tune in because I own the league. If I'm not playing in the league will probably do maybe NFL money. It'll still be on the NHL. What do we do? It'll be doing NFL money, and I wouldn't be able to pay the players $200 million cap. I have maybe a 130 million, $20 million cap. Players won't make as much because I can't afford to pay them $200 million. Yeah. And I would lose money. I would lose my money for a season. Is there a high chance you could lose your money if you don't play in the league? Oh yeah, if I don't play in the league, I could lose my money for a season. I spent $33 billion into the league. I lose $10 billion of my money for a season. I lost like $10 billion in my first season. Yeah, because I'm not playing in the league. If I'm not playing in the league could do maybe 18, 20, 15 to 18 to $20 billion a season. NFL money, or maybe a bit less. It's probably about 20 billion a season. The league would do, obviously, but I would lose like my money. To protect my investment, I have to be the star. If I know if I'm the star in the league, the league will make its money. People watch how I can play hockey, for hockey, right? Uh, that's why it's risky, man. That's why I most likely movies are easier, right? The gates might delay this until I'm 50, guys. So if they delay when I'm 50 and all my movie plans are fucked up, I might just start that pro hockey league. Obviously. Yeah. With a high chance of a movie start, guys, right? Yeah. Coffee's brewing, guys. And they're good. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'm gonna go upstairs and get my coffee. Just woke up, right? Yeah, the money. I have no money, but I have my cans. I have enough for a pack of smokes, right? I have to walk to Super C after this and cash my cans at Super C. And I can get my pack. I hope I have enough for 25. I know I have enough for 20, but I hope I have enough for 25. I highly doubt I have enough for 25. Most likely enough for 20, right? Yeah. you have the genes. If you train, you should be able to keep up with the best players. I know, guys, but I could flop. It's fucking risky, man. That's why I'm most likely moving to RBJ. I'm just making these deals out of 10, you guys, right? Yeah. I am tempted to start the league, though. I'm not gonna lie. But I choose being a pro athlete, but movie star's cooler. It's less risky. I'm gonna go with the movie star with BJ, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you know your shit, man. Like you know your shit about pro leagues. Well, yeah, I'm self-taught. I know my shit, guys, about pro league, how it works. Yeah, I know how it works with the cap and everything, trading players, drafts. I know how it works. Yeah. So if you start that league, Ivan, hypothetically speaking, obviously you would tell the board of governors, yeah, I would tell them all the rules for the players, contracts, everything, coach contracts. That way these guys don't do me. You have to put this in the rule, and you have to let all the higher GMs know about the rule. The assistant GMs, you have to let them all know about the rule. I don't want these athletes to do me. They only get their mega deal for the athletes only get their mega deal for their first contract. And after that, they're never going to see that money ever again. I'm not going to have these guys do it. They'll be lucky to get maybe another 30 million, 25 million, 20 million, 40 million after that for the next couple of contracts for their career earnings. That way they don't do me. You already made your like 120, 150, 180, 200, 250, 280, 300, 350 million. And the generational talent made close to 400 million around there. Now you're not going to see that money ever again because I'm not going to have you guys do me, man. Yeah. You have to take huge pay cuts. That's how it works. That's the only way. They're like, yeah, Ivan, that's the only way the upcoming you guys can get the. Yeah, if you want the upcoming you guys to get the mega deal, all the veteran guys now have to take pay cuts, man. They make their 4 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million, which is still good. 8 million a season, 6 million a season, 9 million a season now. And they have to take, and they sign shorter term contracts. They have to take pay cuts. That way these other upcoming guys can get paid, man. You guys had your time to shine in your prime. Now these other upcoming guys have to have their time to shine and get paid a lot of money. Money that you got paid, right? That's how it works. That's the only way to afford to pay the younger guys. Otherwise, if you pay veteran guys mega deals too, you won't have enough cap space to pay the younger guys a mega deal like that. You either like $8 million, $7 million, $6 million, a lot of money, but I want more, man. I want maybe more. My guys, you're not worth that anymore, man. You're no longer in your prime. You're older now. You're not worth that money anymore. I'm not gonna have you do like that, man. You already made that dough. Now you're not gonna make that money ever again. I'm not gonna have you do like that, man. You have 100, 120, 80 million, 150, 200 million, 250, 280 million, 300 million, 350 million in career earnings. That's a lot of money, man. That's more than enough money. Now you're going to take pay cuts and you have to let these other guys get paid. The players are greedy, obviously. They want like another mega deal. Like you're not going to get that mega deal, guys. You're not going to get league revenue. And you're not going to get your magazine deals. I'm not going to have you guys do like that. Or you could give them magazine deals, but they're not making as much money anymore. They make maybe their 250, 350, 500K. Because they're still productive players. You can still have them feature on magazines, but they're not going to make their millions anymore. They'll make maybe 300K, 400K for the magazine. 500K, that's how much money they make. Don't peak any higher than 500K. Pay them 250, 500K for the magazine. That's still pretty good money. Pretty good cash for them. Why would you get league revenue? No. You only get league revenue for your first, when you're in your prime for your first deal. After that, you're not allowed to get league revenue because I'm not going to have you guys do it, man. Overpay you guys. You don't want to have players have like 600, 500, 700 million dollars in career earnings. They're not worth that either. They're ripping you off. Obviously, even Michael Jordan, LeBron James are not worth that. Those deals for career earnings. Guys from Sarah. Yeah. Yeah, man. don't want to have these guys too. Give me a second. I think the coffee's ready. You guys are my show. I'm gonna go upstairs and get my coffee. All right. Well, I'm just getting my coffee, guys. Why it'd be nice for you to talk about Sky Source and all. So yeah, but guys, I've been talking about Sky Source for the past like what, like 6 years. Yeah, I've been talking about Sky. I made like what thousands of videos about Sky Source. I think it's about time I switch it up a little bit, right? Because I always talk about Sky Source and Zanus all the time. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, man. If this thing gets delayed till I'm like 50 and all my plans are fucked up, I will be tempted to start the Pro Hockey League. But like, but chances are I'm gonna end up being a movie star. But like, I have to have that talk with VJ. But VJ will tell me, Ivan, like, I get that. I'll support you, but like, I want to be a movie star with you. George Justice wants me to be a movie star. Yeah, I don't want to be a movie star with you. But with VG, my Zane's plans got fucked. Yeah, we could put it on hold. We could do another movie. Do the Great Escape Ivan. Yeah, you got a good point. We do the Great Escape Keanu Reeves. Obviously. And Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, right? Yeah. You're gonna have that rule. Yeah, I don't want these athletes to do it, man. After you sign your mega deal, you'll be lucky to get like your 30, 25. Like sign them to smaller deals, like 20 million, 25, 30 million dollar deals, 27 million dollar deals, 15 million dollar deals, 2 year, 15 million dollar deals. Yeah, like sign them to those deals. That's what they don't do. They're still making a good money. They're no longer in their prime. If they're productive, you can pay them a little bit more, maybe a 35 million, 40 million deal. But if they're not as productive anymore, don't pay them small deals, guys. Smaller deals. They have to take huge pay cuts. And some players want to get pissed off. Man, like I want the money I made before. My guys, you're not worth that money anymore, man. You're not in your prime. You're older. You need to give these upcoming guys an opportunity to shine and make that money that you made. It's not about you anymore, man. You're old. Now you have to take a sacrifice for these players. Only you know what I'm saying. And you have to let them make their money, man. That's how it works, right, in pro sports. especially for hockey, right? Usually in hockey, the players, when they're older, when no longer in their prime, they take pay cuts. That way the new guys can get paid. That's how it works. That's Sidney Crosby, because Sidney Crosby's playing at a productive level. He's still getting paid a lot of money, like his $8 million, but he had to take pay cuts, right? Because the other guys have to get paid. That's how it works. Yeah. Yeah, Ivan, you're smart. You're not gonna let us athletes do like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna have these hockey athletes do me, man. You got your check, your fat check for your first contract. You're never seeing that money ever again. I'm being serious, man. I'm not gonna have these guys do me, man, and overpay them. They have career earnings of like 500, 600, 700 million dollars. That's crazy. If a generational talent player made 400 like $20 million in his first contract, and you sign that player to a mega deal like that again, Ivan, they just made $800 million in career earnings. They're not worth that. They made the $400. That's good enough. Now they gotta take huge pay cuts. So be lucky to get like a 25, 30 million, 20 million, 50 million contract now for like 2 years. That's the money they're gonna get. They have to take those pay cuts. And if the players are pissed off, obviously, then you can retire. Just retire if you're pissed off about that money. Obviously, but why the fuck would you retire when you're making more money? You're still making your millions. You're just not making the money you're making before. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but I want more. I'm like, I know you want more, but you're not gonna get that same deal, guys. I'm not gonna do like that. Yeah. You have to tell GMs that. It's part of the rule. Obviously, once the players sign their mega like 8-10 year deal, then they're never gonna see that money ever again. They have to take huge pay cuts now for their smaller like 2-3 year contracts. That's how it works. That way, some of the new upcoming draft picks who get drafted, they break out into stars in the SHL. Now they can sign their mega deals. The veteran players now have to take sacrifices for the sake of the cap, man. That's how it works. I'm not having these guys stupid names. Yeah. Yeah. That's why some players in their first contract they might demand like 32 million for 10 seasons because they want to do whatever they can to make as much money as they can. I get that, guys. You want to get paid, you will get paid, but I'm not going to pay you that ridiculous amount of money, guys. You're not worth that. I can pay you that money for 2 seasons, and you got to take pay cuts. That way, other players can get paid. Good players can get paid. That's how it works. And if you really care about winning championships, you would gladly take pay cuts for that way other players can get paid, man. It's not just about you. The success of a team is not just about one player. No, the success of a team is combined success. It's team success. The star players have the biggest part to play with the success, but it's a team thing, man. If you want to win championships, other players have to get paid. That's how it works, right? You can't be a selfish player like that. Players who demand that kind of deal are selfish players who don't care about the other players. They only care about getting paid of themselves. They don't care about winning championships, man. Obviously. But it's part of the rule. The GMs have to decline and say no if the agents demand that. Yeah, sorry guys, part of the rule, we can't pay you that. We're breaching the rule if we do that. Yeah, you're breaching the rule. If GMs do pay a player that, they'll get fined. They're gonna get fined. Obviously, I'm gonna fine the GMs. I have to fine them. Yeah, fine them like $200,000. You have to fine them, man. If they breach, they get fined. And they can even get fired, right? Or you let them off with a warning, obviously. And they have to restructure the contract. They can't pay a player that. You guys, you can't afford to pay a player $32 million for 10 years. You're gonna drain the cap, and you're not gonna have that much cap space to pay other players. Because don't forget, while you're paying that player $32 million for 10 seasons, you're also paying your other star players. So you're gonna drain the whole cap, guys. And the good players won't be able to make that much money. Yeah. Because some good players deserve at least like a $10 million, $11 million, $12 million, $13 million deal. At least a $10 million deal. They have to get paid too. These guys have to get paid too. It's not just about the star players, guys. The star players deserve the bulk of the money, but the good players have to get paid. Yeah, we understand. Yeah, man. If you really care about winning championships, you'll take pay cuts for other players, right? That's how it works. I'd gladly take pay cuts if I played in the NHL. Assuming I wasn't why, and they offer me a boatload of money. Yeah, pay me a lot of money, but I'll gladly take like maybe $2 million, $1 million pay cuts per season. 1.5 million pay cuts per season. That way you have more cap space for other players. Yeah. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is obviously a greedy pick. Like he took like a good chunk of the cap. They're paying him $50 million a season. He demanded $50 million a season. He's a greedy pick, Patrick Mahomes. But I think after his performance this year, that's why he took a pay cut. I think the Kansas City Chiefs GM realized they overpaid him. Obviously, he's worth the money, but I mean, that's a bit too much. Maybe $40 million a season, but $50 million a season is crazy, man. But that was when he was in his prime, when he was an amazing player. He took his team to the Super Bowl. He has 3 Super Bowls. But I think because his performance dipped and the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs, they realized, yeah, we don't want to pay this guy like $50 million a season for the next 3, 4 years, whatever it is. Patrick Mahomes took a pay cut for the players. He was willing to take a pay cut, which is generous, obviously. Yeah, it's fine. I'll take a pay cut. Other players can get paid. Yeah, man. And he got his $50 million for the past 5, 6 seasons, whatever it is. I made a lot of money. I'll gladly take a little bit of a pay cut. Other star players can get paid. Yeah, if you really care about winning championships, obviously. Why do you think he took a pay cut? Because I think he realized that he didn't do good this season, and the team wants to sign other good players. Yeah, I want to win a championship. I'll take a pay cut, that way you can pay other players. Because he cares about winning championships, obviously. Yeah, you have to care about winning championships. That's how it works, right? Yeah. But star players in every pro league are greedy. They're all greedy people. They all want to suck most of the money, but they ask for a ridiculous amount of money, and then the agents say no, and they counter offer. Like, okay, that's a deal. Obviously, but the star players in every pro league are greedy. They always demand a ridiculous amount of money. They want to suck the bulk of the cap, obviously, but the GM say no. We can't overpay you. We have to pay other players. That's how it works. Not just about star players, right? That's how it works, right? Yeah. That's how it works. Oh, I have to walk to fucking Super C, man, and catch my cans. There's a bunch of snow. I don't feel like walking in that snow, man. I have no choice. I have no money. I have to catch the cans, or otherwise I won't have my pack of smokes for today, right? Tomorrow I get paid, but I have to wait till 2 tomorrow, 2:00. Yeah. How much you get paid? I get a shitty $100 paycheck. That's enough money for me until next Friday when I get my welfare check. My $600 is enough money. Yeah. Well, I'll get 240s. I'm not gonna get a 6 beers. It's gonna drain more of my money. That $4 I save might help me out. I'll get 240s and 25, and I'll probably just get slices at Bob's. It's cheap. It's $11. I can afford that. Yeah. Then starting Monday, I'll get a pack of smokes. Right. I have enough for a pack of smokes till till I get paid on Friday midnight. Yeah. 4 more days off, guys. Today is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I work Wednesday, right? At Dinty's. This time I have to save my money. Yeah, man. If you want this league to make money, you gotta be a star. Yeah. As long as I'm playing in the league will make its money. But for the league to really have buzz and have the sport anchors really talking about me and make for the league to really make for the league to make a little bit more revenue, I have to be a star player. Or at least a pretty good player, but like the key is me being a star player, franchise star player with the other star players. Yeah, you have to be the face of the league with the other star players. That's how it works in pro sports. All the star players are the face of the league, the face of the league. Obviously, that's how it works. Ivan, how much star players does each NHL team have? In most cases, it's usually around 2 to 3 star players. And you have like maybe 8 really good ones, 7, maybe 8 really good ones, and the other players are all like average, not bad players, right? Yeah, 2, 3 star players, and you have like really good players, but they're not really stars, and you have like the good players, and you have the average players, right? That's how it works. Yeah, yeah. So the good players are very important. Yeah, the good players are like the balance on your team. The star players put up all the points, but the good players they help with the success. They also score goals and they help with the team's success. That's why they're very important to good players. But they're not really stars. The sport anchors don't really talk about them. They talk about them sometimes a little bit. It's mainly about the star players, but they're very important to good players. They're really good players too. The good players. It's not just about star players now. Yeah, Ivan, you're right. The good players are very important for the team's success. That's why I'm not going to have these athletes dupe me, man. Yeah, man, I'm not going to have you be a greedy pig like that and demand like 32 million for 10 seasons, and you don't care about these other players getting paid. These other players have to get paid too, guys. Not just about you guys. The good players deserve their like 8, 9, 10, 11, $12 million too, guys. Not just about you. You have to get paid, guys. That's how it works, right? It's not just about you guys. They want to live a rich, amazing life too. They have a family to feed or a girlfriend to feed, whatever it is. Only I'm saying. Those guys have to get paid too. It's not just about you guys. That's how it works, right? Yeah, man. Yeah. It's kind of a similar example with the A-list actors and the B-list actors. For movies, you need, even though the A-list actors deserve the bulk of the money, and they're the ones who build more hype, you need to balance it out with B-list actors. B-list actors help with the success of the movie too, because they're very skilled actors too. You need to balance it out with some B-list actors. B-list actors are important too. They're not as valuable, but they need to get paid too. But they're not worth as much money. But you can't overpay the A-list actors because you need to create room to pay the B-list actors too. That's how it works. You have a similar example in pro sports too. Obviously, that's how it works, right? Yeah. Yeah, man, you're not gonna let us dupe like that, man. Yeah, for Sky's Entertainment, I'm not gonna have these Hollywood actors dupe me. I could easily afford to pay these Hollywood actors 300, 400, $500 of the film profits, but they're not worth that. They're not worth that kind of money, and they're duping me. I pay them that. And for the pro hockey thing, you have a similar example there. I'm not gonna have these athletes dupe me, man. Like I'm being serious, man. Like after you make that mega deal, make that kind of money, you're never gonna see that money ever again, guys. Oh, you're such a fucking dick, man. Well, guys, man, I'm not gonna have you guys do me, man. I'm not gonna raise the cap to $340 million. You're crazy. You're not worth that. But they might demand like $350 million cap. Yeah, Ivan, Ivan, it's not fair. The league's doing like 140 billion in revenue. We want to raise Ivan. Yeah, I'll raise the cap by maybe $13 million. I'm not gonna raise it by $100. Have you guys do like that, man? You're not worth that. Obviously, are you crazy? A $300 million cap, $300 million cap. Good players can now make like $16 million. If the good players are not worth $16 million in my league, you're overpaying them and they're ripping you off. You're being way too generous with the players, Ivan. Yeah. Think I'm gonna raise the cap to $300 million and give you league revenue too and have you do like that, guys? You're crazy. I'm overpaying when you're duping me, man. Why not you guys duping? Yeah. So that's part of the rule. Yeah, GMs can't peak any higher than $32 million for a player, for a star player in my league. So it's double than what the star players make in the NHL. This is for non-generational, don't hit me guys, non-generational star players who are more normal who are amazing fucking players, but they're a bit more normal on the ice. They also put on a show, and saying those guys don't peak any higher than $32 million. And the generation where talent, obviously, those guys can make $35 to $50 million because they put on more of a show when they're more unique on the ice and they're very talent in the league. They can bargain for 35 to 50 million, but you can pay them whatever you want. It's up to the GM, obviously, but don't peak any higher than 50 million for those guys. That's good enough. Obviously, but I recommend you guys don't peak any higher than 40, man. Because if you pay a player $50 million, you're going to drain the cap, man. That's a lot of money. And the GM's chances are we'll pay some players that. If the guy is very talented, yeah, the guy's so talented, we got to make sure he gets paid out. Yeah, you can pay $50 million, but don't pay $50 million for 10 seasons, guys. You're going to trade. They're not worth that. Pay them $50 million for maybe 2 seasons. They made their $100 million with their league revenue, and they also make league revenue. And after that, they take a huge, like maybe, I recommend they have to take like a $14-15 million pay cut after that, because they already got paid their $100 million. Now they have to take a huge pay cut, like a $15 million pay cut. That way, other players can get paid. That's how it works. Yeah, $15 million cap space. You can pay 2 good players $7.5 million. Like, you just create cap space to pay 2 other good players good money, really good money, or you can pay a good player $10 million and pay another good player $5 million, like, or a draft pick $4 million. Like, you have caps, you're creating cap space to pay other players. Yeah. That's some Sarah. You're a G, know your shit. I know my shit, man. I have street smarts. Yeah, you know your shit about like Hollywood, pro sports. Yeah, I'm self-taught. I'm a self-taught guy, obviously, right? Yeah, I know about pro sports. I know how it works. Obviously, I've studied how it works and all that stuff, right? Yeah. Like, what if the GMs can't afford to pay like all their star players? Then they're gonna have to the star players are either gonna have to take a pay cut, or they're gonna have to trade them or release them. That's the only way to make it work. Trade them, maybe trade them for a draft pick. Yeah, it's up to the GM. Yeah, if you can't afford to pay like 4-star players, you're gonna have to. You're either gonna have to take pay cuts, or you're gonna have to trade them or something like that. That's how it works. For maybe a first-round draft pick, like you have to trade them. Another team will probably pick them up. I don't know. Yeah, it's up to the GM, right? Yeah, but chances are the star players why I'm taking pay cuts. So if a team has 4-star players, obviously, like 2 guys can make maybe their 2018. One guy can make his maybe 28, and the other one guy has to take a huge pay cut. The GMs can only pay that guy maybe $50 million max. Yeah, sorry, we can only pay you $50 million for the start of your contract. But what you can do is you can pay that player $15 million for maybe 4 or 5 seasons. Because $50 million doesn't really drain that much of the cap. Obviously, yeah, because the player took a huge pay cut and you're starting him off $50 million, that's the low end of how much players make. You can pay that player like $50 million for 5 seasons. 5 seasons. That way, that player makes a lot of money. I give that player a nice piece of league revenue, maybe 10 million, 11 million league revenue. He's making 25, 26 million a season. And with his magazine money, he's still making almost 29, 30 million a season. That's still a lot of money for the guy. We keep him happy. And after that, yeah, they have to take pay cuts. After 5 seasons, you pay the guy maybe 13 million. For 2 seasons, the final season, the player makes maybe $12 million. That player is still signed with his league revenue. Like a what? How about a $200 million deal? But it's a smaller deal. It's not as big as the other deals, obviously. But some players might be pissed off about that. Yeah, man, like, all the star players want to make that like at least 20 plus million in my league, right? Anything below 20 is a bit, they took huge pay cuts. But I mean, if the GM can't afford to pay you that, then it's still a lot of money. You still sign up about like a $200 million deal. That's more than what they make in the NHL, right? Yeah. But there will be situations when that happens, obviously, in my league, where the GM just has like 4-star players that he can't afford to pay. Yeah, and that's why you got to raise the cap, guys. Man, I'm not gonna raise the cap and have these guys do me, man. I'm not gonna have these athletes do me, man. They're not worth that, man. $200 million is enough for the cap. That's double the NHL salary cap. NHL salary cap, I think, is at $190 million. $90 million, I think, NHL cap, right? So $200 million is double the NHL salary cap. Yeah. That's what Sarah. Emma. So it's too late for those NHL athletes. Yeah, it's too late. But some of them, if I start that league, they most likely will get a sport anchor job. And some of them might even get a coaching job in my league. You never know, right? They can be legendary coaches in my league if they're good, right? Yeah, Ivan, even though I can't play, I would love to coach in your league and be a legendary coach. Yeah, they might get a job in my league as a legendary coach. Be a legendary coach or maybe a GM. GM is less riskier than coaching, obviously. But GM is a bit more boring. It's just like front office signing players and scouting players. Whereas coaching is more fun, obviously. But coaching is what? There's a high firing rate in hockey. Like every year you have like 3, 4, 5 coaches a season get fired. It's crazy in the NHL. CFL too. CFL has a high firing coaching rate too, obviously. Yeah. 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 Oh, I have to watch Super C after this, man. I don't feel like walking. Yeah. Oh. Will VJ be in the meeting with you? Yeah, she will. When I start the league, Victoria Justice will be with me in the meeting, obviously, with the board of the first people we have to hire are the board of governors. I know a 15-team, 12-team board of governors who are going to run the league. Yeah, you guys are going to run the league on my behalf. You can pay them like $15 million a season and give them like yeah, give the board of governors like a $600,000 raise per season, something like that. $1 million a season is crazy. That's too much. Like a $600K raise a season, board of governors. Yeah, and they're gonna handle all the work for me. Obviously, I'm putting in the money, but they have to handle. Yeah, Ivan. Yeah, don't worry. We're gonna handle all the work for you, Ivan. Like building all the arenas in Canada, the States. And once all those arenas are built, now you guys are responsible for hiring the commissioner and all the presidents for each team. And the presidents are responsible for hiring the GMs, assistant GMs, player personnel, the scouting department, the court manager, and they have to hire the coach. The coach hires the assistant coach. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But it's risky, man. I don't want to put all that money into the league and I flop as a player. I just wasted my money, right? Yeah. But just because I do bad my first season doesn't mean I can't get better as a player. Obviously, because I have a higher potential in all these NHL athletes, these SHL athletes in my league. They don't have the gene that I have. So just because I do bad one season, obviously, is as long as I do good my first season, then that's good. If I'm not a star player in my first season, I do good. I have maybe like a 60-point season. I have maybe 18 goals. That's still pretty good. And I get better, and I eventually become a star player. Obviously. Yeah, as Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team, man. I'm not lying, guys. It's a fact. I saw the documentary. Michael Jordan, who is the greatest basketball player in history, obviously, right? He got cut from his high school basketball team. They cut his ass in high school basketball. And he was crushed, obviously. I guarantee you he trained and everything. Obviously, that guy ended up being drafted in the NBA, and he became the greatest basketball player in NBA history. Because I don't think there's any basketball player better than Michael Jordan, right? Well, I mean, not LeBron James. LeBron James is amazing basketball player, but he's not Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player in history. Period. I don't think it's debatable, right? Yeah. 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 So I mean, the athletes in your league will be making more than the athletes in the other pro leagues. Yeah, on average, yeah, they'll be beating out even the NBA. Obviously, NBA players average, I think, like 11 million a season, around there. 11 million a season, and the star players peak at like 40 million a season. So the star players in my league are making more money than most of the NBA players. Some of the NBA players might make about the same amount of money or more, but on average, the star players in my league are making even more than the NBA players. Obviously, the star players. Yeah, because I'm giving them league revenue. Don't forget that, right? NBA players don't get league revenue. Yeah. Why? What do star players in the NBA peak at? Star players in the NBA peak at, I think, like 30, like $40 million. Obviously, those are for like the really, really good players. Most star players in the NBA make like their 15, 20, 25 million a season. So the star players in my team are making even more money than most of the star players in the NBA, because I'm giving the star players in my league revenue and magazine deals and all that stuff. But NBA players also have endorsement deals. Don't forget that, right? Obviously, but their endorsement deals are on average are like a few $1,000,000. But LeBron James has like huge endorsement deals. There's exceptions, obviously. Like LeBron James, I heard with his salary and his endorsement deal, he pulls in like his 80 million a season, something crazy. So LeBron James is making more than the athletes in my league. But on average, the athletes in my league are making even more than even the NBA players and NFL players, and I don't know, they're making more. They have like $250, $300, $400 in career earnings. Like, that's more than what most of these guys make in the other pro leagues, right? In their career earnings. There's exceptions. Like LeBron James is a billionaire. He made so much money in the NBA with his endorsement deals. He's a fucking billionaire, that guy. So the players did not make as much money that he made. Michael Jordan is a billionaire, obviously, because NBA athletes, they make so much money. They make so much money off their endorsement deals, and the NBA pays the star players a lot of fucking money. Obviously, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't get it. Like, if the NFL is much bigger than the NBA, How come LeBron James, a star player, is much richer than guys like Mahomes and Tom Brady? Because there's context. Even though the NFL blows the NBA out of the water in revenue, it's way more popular than the NBA. Each team has like 40 something players they have to pay. So like, because they have more players they have to pay, on average the NFL players not make as much as the NBA players. That's number one. NBA, they only have like 12 players on a basketball team. So if you have a $150 million salary cap, you have more cap space to pay the star players more. You guys what I'm saying? And for basketball, you have bigger opportunities with endorsement deals. You have jerseys, you have shoes, you have more opportunity with endorsement deals than you do football. That's why NBA players, on average, star players have much bigger endorsement deals than even the NFL athletes and the NHL athletes. Guys, I'm saying? Yeah. That's why NBA players, on average, even make more money than NFL players, because they have less players to pay on each team, so they can pay the players more cap space, right? But the NFL blows the NBA in revenue, man. It's not even close. NBA peaks at 13 billion revenue. The NFL peaks at 22 billion revenue, man. Makes almost 10 billion more than the NBA. But the NFL has way more deeper pockets than even the NBA, man. It blows. You have the NFL and like all the other leagues, pretty much, right? The NFL is like number one. It blows all the other leagues out of the water. It's so popular, even more popular than the NBA, right? Yeah. That's why NBA players make more on average. Yeah, that's why they make more. I explained earlier. Right? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why I know your shit. I know my shit. Yeah. 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 But the players in my league are making more on average, more than all the players in all the big pro sport leagues. Like generational talent in my league can peak at 70 million a season in earnings, with their 50 million and 20 million, 73 million a season in earnings for the first two seasons. That's blowing the other earnings of all these other players out of the water. There is exceptions. LeBron James is a billionaire. He made so much money in his NBA career, but on average, I'm still beating out what all these pro athletes are making in the other leagues, in my SHL league. Because these leagues can't compete with me. I have the keys to the kingdom, right? That's why the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, especially the NHL, obviously will go into a panic. MLB will go into a panic, obviously. If I start that league. And all the NHL athletes will be crushed, obviously. Carmen David, Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, Malkin, McKinnon, McDavid, they're going to be crushed. Because it's too late for those guys. Well, you guys will say, yeah, man, you're a fucking dick, man. If you do that, you're going to crush us, man. We missed out on opportunity. We missed out on all that dough. Yeah. They would have made their hundreds of millions in earnings, man. Yeah. Generational talents in my league will peak at like 400 million around there, 420, 430 million, 440 million in career earnings around there, something crazy. Generational talent. And the other guys will peak at maybe 300 million in career earnings in my league. 330 million earnings. And some guys will make 100 million, 150 million, 80 million, 200 million. Even 200 million career earnings is a lot of money. Most pro athletes don't make that in their career earnings. Obviously. Some of them do, but most of them don't. Some of them won't even make that, right? Yeah. That's why I'm not going to have these athletes do me, man. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to let us do like that. Nah, man, I'm not going to have these guys do me. Yeah, you know your shit. Yeah, man. Part of the rule is after the players sign that mega deal for like 8-10 years in my league, you're never going to see that money ever again. I'm not going to have these guys do me, man. Oh, you're such a fucking dick, man. Well, guys, man, I don't mean to be an asshole. You're not worth that. I'm not going to overpay you in your career earnings and have you do like that, man. Yeah, man. I'm not going to have a fucking player have like 800, 700, 600 million career earnings in my league. Are you fucking crazy? They're not worth that, man. After you make your 200, 250 million, 280, 300 million, 400 million in your career earnings, that's enough. And now you're going to take huge pay cuts when you're older. You're going to get your like 20 million, 50 million, $25 million, $30 million deals. That's still good enough. Obviously. As star players in the NFL sign like 30 million, $40 million deals on average, right? It's only like the quarterbacks who sign the mega deals in the NFL, like Patrick Mahomes. Quarterbacks in the NFL are the ones who make all that dough, man. They can make their 20, 25, 30 million, 40 million in the NFL, 50 million in the NFL. Whereas all the other guys make way less. That's how it works. They make like their 8 million, 7 million, 10 million, 15 million, 16 million, 17 million. Yeah. That's how it works. And the quarterbacks take all the money. That's how it works in the NFL. Because quarterbacks are like the franchise players of the team. Most famous players in the league, right? The quarterback. All about the quarterbacks. Obviously. That's how it works, right? No, I'm saying, yeah. Yeah. I do think the NHL athletes deserve more money. Yeah, they do. The NHL athletes do deserve a bit more money, but the league is not generating the kind of money the other leagues are making. That's why they're not making as much money as the other star players in the other leagues. Because the NHL is the smallest of the big four. Of the big four pro sport leagues, right? It's the smallest. Because it's a huge league and so it's making its billions, it's still a big league, part of the big four, but it's the smallest of the big four. NHL peaks at about $7 billion a season revenue. The NFL peaks at 22 billion. You see a huge difference in revenue, right? The NFL is a much richer league. They have much deeper pockets. That's why the star players are making more money than the star players in the NHL. NHL star players peak at about $16, $17 million in the league, which is still a shitload of money. It's not the money that the other star players are making in the other pro sport leagues. And they do deserve more money, but the hockey is not that popular in the States. It's pretty popular, but it's not as popular as like football and basketball. That's why the NHL athletes are not making as much money as the other players in the other pro sport leagues. Yeah, it'd be nice for us to make like our $20 to $30 million. Yeah, guys, the NHL can't afford to pay that because hockey is just not as popular. Is not that popular in the States. That's why the NHL is making the least amount of money in revenue. But because it's so popular in Canada, that's a big reason why the NHL is a huge league. Because it's so popular in Canada. But in the States, it's pretty popular, but it's not as popular as like football and like basketball. People in America see hockey as a weird sport. People skating on the ice with a puck. It's a winter sport. It's a Canadian thing. Yeah, they don't really care that much about hockey, the Americans, right? It's actually funny. Yeah, we don't really care about hockey. Yeah, like sometimes my younger brother told me. My younger brother used to watch the Skip Bayless show. You know, Shannon and Skip Bayless. They used to have that show. The show is no longer. But my younger brother told me, yeah, Ivan, he watches all the sports shows. He's like, yeah, Ivan, like no one talks about hockey in the States, Ivan. They'll mention like a few things here and there, but they don't really talk about hockey in the States. Yeah, the States, they really talk about hockey. It's all about basketball and football in the States. That's all they talk about. They don't really care about hockey, the Americans. And in Canada, it's the opposite. In Canada, you turn on TSN, all they talk about is hockey up here. They barely talk about basketball. They'll mention the NFL here and there, the CFL here and there, and NBA, but all they talk about is hockey up here. I mean, that's funny. Yeah, it's the opposite in Canada. Canada, all they talk about is hockey, the NHL, man. So popular up here, man. All they talk about up here. When McDavid go to Toronto, you know what I'm saying, and like all that stuff. It's crazy. All I talk about is hockey up here. Because hockey is kind of sport. It's kind of sport. That's why it's so pop up here, right? Yeah. All right, they talk about the CFL on TSN. Barely. No. They don't talk about the CFL that much in on TSN. Barely, obviously. Because football is not that popular in Canada. That's why all you CFL players you play up here, you're underpaid. Because the league is not CFL football is not popular in Canada. That's why on TSN they barely talk about the CFL. Obviously. Yeah. CFL is not that popular in Canada, man. Yeah, man. It's not even close when it comes to hockey and CFL. It's not even close. Yeah, a CFL free agency. There is no panel on for the CFL when they talk about free agency. CFL free agency is kept behind the scenes, guys. They don't really talk about it on TV. They just keep it behind closed doors. They write news about it and everything on the website and everything, but they keep it behind closed doors. They don't. There's no panel on TSN talking about CFL free agency because I think TSN knows the CFL is not popular enough. No one really care about these players getting traded to another team. Also, that's why they just keep it behind closed doors. CFL free agency. With NHL free agency, they actually have a panel. They talk about all the players who could get traded, who could resign, who can extend. Like they talk about it. But CFL, they don't do that. It's not popular enough, right? TSN doesn't feel yeah. No one really care about the CFL free agency. We're not going to talk about it. They just keep it behind closed doors. That's funny, I know. Yeah. So TSN knows CFL's not popular. Yeah, they're not stupid. They know about the ratings. Yeah, the NHL ratings blows the CFL ratings out of the water on television. And if we talk about all these players getting traded, no one will really care that much. Because football's not popular in Canada. And another reason why I think no one really cares that much is because of the American talent problem. I don't think anyone in Canada cares that much about these guys, CFL. Yeah, they're players from a different country who are unknowns to the Canadian people, man. But like the CFL's blind by the American talents. Here we go. I know we can't do that, man. The Americans are very talented. We gotta have these stars up here. Canadian players are not as talented. They're a bit more raw, and yeah, they're a bit more raw, but they're still fucking talented players, guys. As I don't see that much of a difference in quality with the star players, the star Canadian players, and the star American players. I don't see that much of a difference. Yeah, there's not that much of a difference, but the Canadian players are a bit more raw, and they're not as athletic, and I get that, but they're fucking talented players, CFL. Yeah, they're talented, but like we want to be the NFL of Canada. We've got to raise guys out of our original for CFL games. We're blind by the American talent. It's actually fun. Right? Yeah. Because I've watched many CFL combines, and the combines are very competitive, man. Like the Canadian players are fucking talented players. Yeah, Ivan, they're very talented, Ivan, but they're not as good as the Americans, Ivan. Yeah, I get that, but like you're still gonna get good quality football, obviously. Ivan, what? How much of a dip in quality will it be if you get rid of American talent? Maybe a 2% dip in quality, maybe around there, right? Yeah, 2, maybe 3. No, 2%. About 2% dip in quality. The quality will dip a little bit, obviously, because the Canadian players are a bit more raw, and they're not as athletic as the American guys. The American guys have a bit of the edge in athleticism and talent and agility, and they're more coordinated too. Whereas the Canadian players are less coordinated. They look a bit more raw when they play. Whereas the American players are more coordinated with the way they play. If that makes sense, right? Even the Canadian players are a bit more raw. They're very talented, but they're a bit more raw, and the American guys are a bit more athletic, and they're a bit more talented, obviously. That's why they start the American guys, because they don't think the Canadian players are good enough. Slap in the face, man. Oh, that's cold, man. All right, that's cold, man. I know. It's cold, man. before I just camera, why do you think the CFL downgrades the Canadian talent? It's because of their blindness of the American talent. That's why they even though like the Canadian players are amazing players, when they compare it to the NFL, it's a dip in quality. That's why they envy the NFL's talent pool. That's why they get the leftover guys, because they're blinded by the American talent. That's the problem. The Canadian players are amazing players because they're blinded by the American talent, and the NFL so popular and the talent in the NFL so amazing. When they compare it to the Canadians, it doesn't feel like it's good enough. That's why they bring the American guys, because they're trying to be the NFL can, because they're blinded by the American talent. That's why if I were a CFL commissioner, yeah, if you want to get rid of your blinders, that's why you have to get rid of these guys, to get rid of your blinders. But they're never going to do that because this has been going on since the league started. It's been passed down to the league since it started, man. They've always been bringing up these American guys for decades, in the 50s and the 60s. Even when Russ Jackson played, the rule was still there. It was all these American guys when Russ Jackson played in the 50s and the 60s in the CFL, right? Yeah. The 70s, Warren Moon played in the CFL in the 70s. They've always been bringing up all these American guys for decades, man. It's been passed down to the league for decades. That's why they're never gonna. Yeah, we're never gonna do that, Ivan. They're so talented. We gotta bring these guys up and have push over CFL games, Ivan. You haven't played by the American talent CFL. Oh, that's funny, I know. Yeah. The best way to make it work is make it fair. Like, have half the players in your team be Canadian, half the players be American. But because we can't do that because we don't trust the Canadian. Yeah, that's the thing. That we don't trust the Canadian players to compete well with the more athletic American players. Yeah, that's why you have to get rid of them, man. If you want to, that's a problem, right? Yeah. 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 I know all the American players the CFL brings up are better than the best Canadian players. Not all of them, no. There's some Canadian players. It's very rare, but there are a few Canadian star players who are even better than the American guys the CFL brings up here. Yeah, like John Corners was drafted in the fourth round in 2007 for the Calgary Stampeders. He was the best running back in the league when he played in the CFL. He was better than even all the American running backs. He was Canadian. Andrew Harris, a non-drafted free agent, was like arguably the best running back in the CFL for a couple of years when he played, man. He's Canadian. He was better than all the American guys. And you guys don't talk about, man. He was the best, arguably the best running back in the league. There are a few Canadians who are even better than some of the American guys, but in most cases, the American guys have the edge, a bit of the edge in talent. That's why the CFL starts them, because they put on more of a show. Yeah, even the Americans are more coordinated with the way they play. They're not as raw as the Canadian guys. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think separates the Americans from the Canadians, Ivan? The Canadian players are very talented, but the big difference between the Canadian players and the American players is the Canadian players are a bit more raw in the way they play. They're a bit more raw, obviously. Whereas the American players they don't look as raw. They look more coordinated and athletic when they play. The Canadian guys look very athletic too, are more coordinated, but they're a bit more raw in some cases than the American guys. They look a bit more raw when they play. The American guys put on more of a show. That's why the CFL does that. I think Eugene's were and that's true. The Canadian players, what separates them is they're a bit more raw. Yeah, they're a bit more raw in the way they play, obviously. Than American guys. Because the American guys have better training than the Canadian guys. That's why they have the edge in talent, the American guys. Because the NCAA has better training programs than the CIS. Canadian players train hard too, but they don't do the kind of training that the American guys do in the States. The American guys do in the States, the training in the United States is it's higher level training than even what the Canadian players train in football players train in Canada. That's why they're a bit more talented, athletic when they play, obviously. In most cases, not in all cases, but in most cases, that's why the CFL does that. Yeah, man, they're very talented. They put on a show. That's how we grow the league. Yeah. Yeah, you want to Americanize the Canadian football brand because you're envious of the NFL's talent pool. Yeah, we're envious of the NFL's talent pool. The NFL is so popular in the States, and the players there are so fucking talented. We got to bring in those other guys, Ivan. Having the stars up here. That's how it works. Yeah. I'm going to keep saying CFL before I shut this count here. Obviously, if you want to grow your league, your Canadian football league in Canada, you want to bring up all these American guys, it has to be the stars of it. I'm going to keep saying this, man. You have no choice to market them to the Canadian people. I'm going to keep saying, you have no choice, man. You have to market them to Canadian people. Players who people can't know nothing about, like they're from a different country, CFL. They're unknown talent who you're marketing to the people of Canada. You wonder why your league's not growing. Oh, even they're very talented. Yeah, I know they're very talented, CFL, but they're unknowns to the Canadian people, guys. No one knows anything about these guys when you market them. Yeah. And you wonder why your league's not growing, right? Yeah, man. So the CFL is relying blindly on the American talent to grow the league. I get that. They're blinded by it. They're talented. They put on a show, and that's how we grow the league. I get that. They're putting on a show on television, and that's how you grow the league. But, like, if you want to have these guys be the stars of your league, CFL, you have to market them, obviously, right, to the Canadian people. But, I mean, when you market them to Canadian people, no one really cares, and no one knows anything about these guys. Because they're from a different country. Obviously. Yeah. Instead of marketing the players who you drafted, who the football fans know about, they got drafted or they saw at university, and they're more relatable to the people of Canada because they're Canadian. They're homegrown talent. You rather market the unknown, amazing talent, amazing American talent, to the people of Canada than the known amazing Canadian talent. Even though Canadian talent is not as talented as the American talent, they're homegrown talent, CFL. They're Canadian players. People can relate to them, they're Canadian. And all the football fans in the CFL know these players got drafted. And some of them saw them in college, university. Obviously. There's a big market to tap into for the Canadian players. Yeah. Because university football in Canada is the most popular sport out of all the sports. Like thousands of fans at university go to all the games and they see their players play. The players play. And each university team in Canada for football, one or two guys are eligible for the CFL draft every year. And when the players get drafted, they post the information at the university website on the main page. So all 50,000 students, whatever it is, at each university know these players got drafted, and the football fans know. So if they know they got drafted and you market the universities, this player played at this university, now this player is a star franchise quarterback. Like, the thing could be huge, CFL, man, if you tap into them, if you just market them all in 10, 15 years. And I guarantee you a lot of these football fans will be tuning more people will be tuning into the games, man. Watching this star franchise Canadian quarterback play as a franchise quarterback. Yeah, we know that. Like, they have higher market value, but they're not as talented. No, they're talented, CFL. You're just blinded by the American talent. That's why it's not good enough for you. Because you're just completely blinded by the talent in itself. Yeah, we're blinded by it, Ivan. We saw it over Ivan. It's so good. We gotta have these guys be the stars, but yeah, they're blinded by the American talent. Well, Ivan, because the Americans are the greatest football players in the world, man. They put on a show. Yeah, man, they're so talented, Ivan. We gotta have you guys be stars up here. Yeah, I get that guys are talented, but they're not from here, guys. They're from a different country. They're unknowns to the Canadian people. No one knows anything about these guys you bring up here, man. They're unknowns to the Canadian people. And you market those guys to the Canadian people, and you're pissed off that you're struggling, your league is struggling with growth. Yes, because no one in Canada really cares about these guys. They love them when they're CFL stars. I get that, but like, they're American from a different country. No one knows anything about these guys CFL. They're just guys who happen to come up here and be CFL stars, but they're American players from a different country who no one knows anything about. Obviously, and the fans of Canada are not stupid. They know these American guys. They never want to be here, man. They're only here by default. We know that, but we don't care. If we lose them to the NFL, we'll just grab more. Yeah, the CFL knows if they lose these guys to the NFL, some of these guys in the NFL, they can just grab more guys from the States. There's a huge talent pool to choose from for the American players in the States, obviously. That's why the CFL GMs don't really care that much when they lose players in the NFL, their star players in the NFL. They're a bit pissed off, but like, yeah, it's all good. We'll just grab more guys. Yeah, they just grab more guys from the States, right? That's how it works. All right, that's funny, I know. They just grab more guys from the States. That's how it works, right? Yeah. That's why the Americans are not as valuable to the league. Because they're a dime a dozen. The GMs can just grab as much guys as they can from the States when they lose other players in the NFL. They're not as valuable to the league, obviously. Because the Canadian players are actually very talent in Canada. Obviously. Yeah. Yeah. See if we'll normally have change up. Anyways, guys, this is where you guys on the show. So I remember saying out peace. I'm gonna upload it. I'm gonna go to the store and cash my cans and I'll get my pack of smokes and I'll enjoy showing you guys. So I'm saying out peace. Peace out, guys. Peace.